Welcome to the Ultra Ascent Podcast. Your hosts, Alex Proctor and Mark Dowdle, are two aspiring professional runners with the goal to take you on a journey of making that dream a reality. You'll be given an inside look to what life is like as an unsponsored athlete and all the trials and tribulations that it entails. Along the way, they'll share how they train, what races and challenges are currently on their calendar, and how they aim to land support from brands. Alex intends to dominate in the professional trail running sector, taking souls and finishing on top the podium at the most premier trail races around the world, while Mark seeks to find new ways to discover the unknown and self-made, not yet accomplished ultra distance challenges. Let's get into the show.
Is about to drop right now with your hosts, Mark Dowdle and myself, Alex Proctor. What's up, Mark?
Hey,
Talking a bit.
Hey, Alex. It's been a little bit, almost as long as Xbox 360 came out
No, not
when it
that.
first hit shelves.
Not quite that long, but what's been going on in your life? What have you been up to?
Well, I did recently get engaged. I got on the knee. I submitted to my girlfriend, who is now my fiance, and I submitted to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and made that commitment to put God first in our lovely relationship.
And why was now the time?
Yeah, we kind of talked about this off screen, but I think now was the time because, well, we've been together for 3.5 years, and I had always found it difficult to make that connection between making that next step. It's definitely something we have talked about, definitely something I've spent a ton of time thinking about and reflecting on, but making that commitment, making that decision always felt a little bit a little less material and tangible than like a thought. And I could never get over that feeling of like needing proof in order to make that full commitment. And I think through my faith journey, a lot of what faith is looking at evidence, doing research on a certain thing or the object of the subject at hand, and making a commitment without having full proof. In the same way that like I put my faith in Jesus Christ, even though I can't prove him without any doubt or without any certainty. I can't prove 100% that Jesus Christ is real, but based on the evidence, based on the love and the relationship that I've grown to have with him, I put my faith and I commit to him in that way. And I think having that understanding of what being committed and being faithful and being able to like take that step forward in a very tangible way without needing proof made me reflect on my relationship with my fiance and being able to mirror that and just like release the burden of needing to know answers and submitting to the mysteries of life, and also just basically looking at like, wow, all of this evidence of love and friendship and relationship and goodwill and highs and lows and working through issues and working through everything in between is like it was a no-brainer. So I tend to overthink, but
Yeah. That's spot on with how I was feeling before I'd come to Jesus, and like, I didn't feel it was necessary to really be married. I didn't feel like you needed like a paper, have something like official, or I didn't even realize like how special it would be to be married. I thought it was just you're going to get married in front of your family and friends, and like there's no it's not that intimate. It's just like, oh, we're just getting this done because it's traditional.
yeah.
But in realizing how important it is to be intertwined with your significant other and the Lord as one, all three, connected. The imagery that my pastor had talked about when we were doing our premarital counseling, which I highly recommend to anybody that's on the verge of getting married, or like yourself and Lucy. Like, I think it's something that I would highly recommend if someone you trust or someone that's involved with the church, to get that premarital counseling done and taken care of. You just so you guys are on the same page and off to a good start with your marriage. But he brought up this imagery of a triangle, and how like at the two bottom spots are you and your spouse, and then the top is the Lord, and like as you both get closer to the Lord, you get closer to each other, and it
That's
really puts
awesome
into
imagery.
yeah, it's sweet. So I mean, it's made things just feel a lot more at ease, I think, between Natalie and I, knowing how committed we are to our faith, and like how we are prioritizing it in our everyday life. And with that, it sets an incredible foundation just for everything that we do and how we operate, and you know our prayers together before bed, just how we treat each other, and something that we can fall back on when there's times of turmoil or things that we disagree on. It's like we have His word to fall back on, and it almost just sets things straight for us, and just it's been amazing so far. And I couldn't thank Natalie's parents enough for prompting like me to start my journey with faith. So it's just been awesome to see how, what you're doing with it. And I guess I'm not really familiar with like Lucy's background at all with like her faith. Is she a woman of faith? Is that something that if she's not, is that something that she's open to? I don't know if you want to speak for her on
Yeah.
that, but
I mean, this is so she grew up in the Catholic Church. I grew up in the Catholic Church. She went through the stages of, baptism, first communion, confirmation, as did I, that the Catholic faith goes through, the sacraments of initiation. And we found our faith. I mean, I think we both sort of were a part of those traditions without having an active participation role. So
mm,
it's just something we were brought up in. And my like first bit of genuine curiosity came like a year and a half ago, and I was listening to Salem McRae, the Yellow Runner, on the Cam Hanes Keep Hammering Collective, and it was what she said about her relationship to God and her relationship to Jesus and her relationship to faith in general, of how, she knows she's this strong individual because she's made in the image of God, and that power lives within not just her, but each one of us.
mm,
And I think hearing it for the first time, it was definitely something that like it hit me at the right time, because I just spent the last 2-3 months um, trying to fill that God shaped hole with running and like purpose and meaning, and like, trying to understand why these lessons that I was learning in running weren't filling that hole that I was desiring to be filled. And then hearing that, it was just kind of like, all right, it's time for me to re-engage. Um, I, had called Lucy either that day or the next day and told her that I wanted to start going back to church. And in the same time that I was having those questions, she also was having those questions, and she wanted to go back as well. And so we've been going back, um, reading scripture. We've been doing more praying together. And there's a book called Meaning of Marriage, The Meaning of Marriage. It is centered around, I think a pastor wrote it, and it's centered around culture and faith, and how culture sees marriage and how the Bible sees marriage. And so we're reading that together in preparation for marriage. And then there's other things that we're um, gonna be doing with the priest in preparation for marriage as well. So I think we're both in alignment on seeking out the ultimate truth, and like trying to put a better understanding by doing research and reading scripture, and seeking out books and seeking out pastoral guidance. Um, but definitely in alignment. And I think that it's funny because before we both found our faith, I would have said it wouldn't have mattered if she was or not. And now that we're on the other side of like the knowledge of it, I could not imagine. It would
I
be
know.
it
I know.
just like like it would be a
That's
deal
why,
breaker.
yeah. That's why Natalie's parents were so adamant about me coming to faith and like not necessarily seeking out answers, but being open to the Lord seeking out me.
Mm.
And that kind of really like opened my heart to like just accepting it. And for the listeners that are to this point, the reason we talk about this is that it's, this could be deemed as an ultra running podcast, an ultra event podcast, whatever it is. But since this is such a big through line in our life and the most important things in our life, it's something that we have to talk about, and it's something that we can't like get around. So I'm not really sorry if this is something that maybe strikes a chord with you in the wrong way, um, because this is something that we just strongly believe in, and we really appreciate anyone that's listening to this that hasn't come to accept the Lord, and the open hearts that you may have and the open ears that you may have. So just wanted to get that out there because I know that we've talked about it quite a bit, and
Yeah.
some listeners might not necessarily be believers or have maybe been at once and maybe been gotten the short end of the stick in some way or another, or thought they have. And for me, it just took a matter of flipping my perspective just a bit for that light to shine through to me. And since then, my life has never been better, and it's something I could never have imagined before that. It's incredible. I haven't for the past, I think it's probably been a year and a half too, haven't dealt with any thoughts of depression at all or anything of that nature, which is just, I know it's not going to be that way for everybody, but knowing and trusting in the Lord helps me to realize that this isn't the end game on earth. We have somewhere after this that's perfect and better. So
Well, and just just to close the conversation with this is like this is a running more of a running podcast, but it's an endurance podcast, and nothing will test your endurance more than uh, putting your faith in something you can't prove and then trying to live in accordance to that. Like,
yeah, and grappling with your
imagine the things
flesh.
that yeah. Try being a good Christian for a day and see how difficult that is, and then
Hmm.
that's when I think you'll understand the grace and just eternal love that you get from God is like, wow, I don't deserve it, and yet He's still going to give it. Um, but with that being said, yes, this is an endurance podcast. We do have endurance challenges and races coming up in the schedule.
Yep.
Proctor, you got Big Buffalo or Buffalo Run 50 miler. When is that coming up for you?
Yep. That's coming up this month at the end of the month.
Oh,
It's
wow.
a Friday. I think it's the 28th. So coming up quick. And the reason I'm doing it is because there's a few reasons actually.
Is this the Finn race?
No, this is not. That's Twisted Fork in June.
Okay.
This one is on Antelope Island, which is a little less than an hour away from Salt Lake City, just north of here. Like out on the Great Salt Lake, there's this island called Antelope Island. And at a certain point, I think over 100 years ago now, there was a few people that brought these like bison out on the island. They're bison. I don't know why it's called the Buffalo Run, but they're bison, and I think they wanted just to have them out there just so they could like harvest the meat every year or so. And at this point, there's about 700, I think, bison out on this island, which is not that big of an island to have that many big animals on it. So this race takes place there, and I've been out there in the past 3 weeks now. I think I've been out there 5 times just to do some scouting on the course and to make sure that I've ran every single part of the course. And that's the first time I've really done that for any race. And the biggest reason being is that this race, I want to take a shot at going for the win. There hasn't been a race that I've participated in really that I really went for it from the gun, and sought the very most out of myself. I think in the past I've run pretty smart and conservative races that have landed me in decent positions, but in this race I kind of want to push the boundaries of what I'm capable of and where my fitness is at, as a good measure for the rest of the year. And with this one, a big incentive for winning is a bear tag, which is basically like Western States' golden ticket program for their races that they have in their circuit. So if you win this race, there's like 5 other 50-mile races near Salt Lake City area, I guess in Utah and like Idaho. That if you win one of the 50 milers, you get an automatic comped entry to the Bear 100, which takes place in Logan, Utah, and runs from Logan to Bear Lake in Idaho, 100 miles, and it's one of the most historic and longest running ultras in the U.S. So I think that would be pretty sick to qualify for if I ended up placing first and doing that one. It would be a quick turnaround with UTMB, and it would leave me about a month to recover from UTMB and get ready for that one, hypothetically. So that's kind of like the biggest thing pushing me right now. I had a few friends do that race last year. I've had a few friends do that one in the past, and everyone says it's such a great race. And with the fall foliage at that time of the year, it's just beautiful. So I want to win the Buffalo Run 50 miler. I, with that, if it's in the cards on the day, everything goes right, I'd like to try and set the course record, which has been long standing for about 14, 15 years by Dylan Bowman when he was 25 years old.
You're 25, right?
24. So
Oh.
next year I'd be 25 during the race. That'd be awesome if I could beat it this year. The record is 6 hours and 15 minutes for a 50 miler, which comes out to 7:30 pace. The nice thing with this course is that although it is at elevation technically, near Salt Lake at like about 4,000, 5,000 feet, it is relatively flat, and it's a fast course. So I'd say there's anywhere between 3,400 to 3,700 feet of elevation gain over the 50 miles. And the hard part now is that the difference between the course that he ran and the course that has been run in the past 2 years, including this year now, is that they started off with the harder first half, and they were able to get the climbing out of the way, basically all the climbing out of the way, while their legs were fresh, and then basically had the 22, 25 mile flat section to run on the back half when their legs were as fresh. So the race is run this year, and the last year it's been, you start with like a 22 to 25-ish mile flat section, and then you get into basically all the vert in the last half. So I've been practicing on that last half a lot with course reconnaissance and just getting out there. So number one goal is to win. If you set the course record, there's a $500 bonus on top of the prize money for first. I think Pentathlon, there's like a construction company that's funding that and kind of pushing to get more competitive folks out in the island. So I was going to compete against my good buddy Sam Collins, who's just a legend and a better runner than me. He was signed up for the 50 miler originally and had been for a while, and that's kind of what almost made me pull the trigger, because I wanted to compete with someone that was better than me. But since I told him about the prize money and the course records, the 100 miler offers $1,000 in prize money for the course record. So he's hilarious, dude. He texted me. I was like, he's like, dude, I had to pull out of the 50 miler. I was like, what are you talking? Like I thought we had something going. We're gonna like go for it together, and like compete and like have a rivalry going. But he said that if someone asked him to do landscaping for 14 hours, which is basically the course record, it's like 14:30, and he wants to like beat it with a 14-hour time. He said if someone were to ask him to do landscaping for 14 hours for $50 an hour, he'd drop everything and do it. So he's saying that running on a Friday and trying to beat the course record in like 14 hours would be easier to do, and the opportunity's there, and he needs the money. So he's going for that course record and the 100 miler and bumping up to do it,
Okay.
which is
So
insane. But he's definitely capable of it. That's the thing. It's just a matter of if everything goes right, and in ultras that's impossible. So like I think he has a
yeah.
good chance at it. Um, the cool part is that his race starts, excuse me, at 6 a.m. and my race starts at 7 a.m. and it starts with like a 22-mile total out and back. So I'm for sure gonna see him like when I head out and he's coming
Mm.
back, which will be sweet. I'll be able to see how he's doing and see how he's faring and hopefully give him a little love. I'd love to be able to help crew him after my race, and if all things go well, like if we both win and set course
That
records,
would,
that
uh,
would be that would be sick because that the record that he's going for is Carl Meltzer, who is the winningest 100-mile racer in the world. He's won the most 100 milers in the world. He's the founder of the Speed Goat 50K, which is the gnarliest 50K that I'm running this year at Snowbird. So if he has a record that's been standing since like 2012, it's pretty stout. And
what? How many has he won?
I think he's won at least 50, at least 50 hundreds. Yeah, he's
Okay.
won 6 in a year before, 5 in a year before, 4 in a year before. Um, this dude is like the legend of 100-mile races. So he originally lived in Utah for a while after he came out here to ski bum, and that's kind of where he found his love for ultra running.
But it's kind of, I mean,
Um,
it's kind of like he played in the NBA in like the 40s,
the thing
before
is though,
they
like
actually
this,
let the real athletes to join the NBA.
I know you're joking, but people won't understand that. But this record's been standing for like 13, 14 years too. So it's definitely one that people have gone for in that
Yeah.
time period and like shot for. But with this course and this timing, um, the weather is something that's pretty plays a pretty big factor. This past year for the race, it was pretty mild, 50 degrees, overcast. The year before, they had to like shut down the race because it was like a whiteout blizzard where you couldn't see like in front of you. So
Oh wow.
yeah, so that's gonna be a factor. Um, yeah, and so my goal in this race is really to just get the most of myself and go
Yeah.
for it from the gun. I'm gonna start
Sounds like
off
it's a
like
run and gun race for you. Like
it's a,
just
it's
to
yes. I don't think that I necessarily got as much as I wanted to out of myself at Black Canyon in kind of settling and laying up the last half just to play it conservative
yeah.
to almost a fault. And this one I'm going to play less conservative and see if that's going to be a fault and just like nail down race strategy a little bit better,
Yeah.
um, to prepare for the races this coming summer that are going to matter and have a lot more impact on my career, I believe. So
So
this is like
so
a
would
good
you so
stepping
would you
stone.
say that you're gonna play this one? You're gonna run on the edges a little bit more. Do be either a little or a lot more risky in your approach, and just take chances, just to see
Definitely.
how you react to them.
Definitely. Yeah. Like if
Yeah.
I go out and blow up, I do.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fine. But
I mean,
I'm
who cares
like
at that point?
I'm this one I'm actually like I think I said this before Black Canyon, maybe on the podcast that we haven't released yet, but it's like um I I
You
said that
want
I
to
was gonna like
suffer.
yes, I want to suffer. I want to like actually like burn the ships and like let it go and like
Yeah.
just run as fast as I possibly can for 50 miles. Um but the thing is, the hard part is that the allure of that bear tag for winning first makes me want to race smarter and just hang with whoever is competing at the front rather than trying to like at some point run away. Like that's the hard part. Like if there was like no incentive of a bear tag to go for that and to get into that race, then it would make me want to be even riskier. But that might be a good thing, honestly. I think it'll keep me restrained enough that I can still be risky and like go for it. So it's gonna be a tough one. I think there's a few decent competitors in the field. I've never met them before, but it looks like based on their previous results. And one of the guys we had just seen running on the island this past weekend when we had done a 28-mile training run, me, myself, Sam Collins, Zachary Frisch, you know him, trails with Zach, and then his friend Josh. We did a run up there, and I think we crossed paths with the guy, and we tried to say hi to him twice, and he wasn't having it. So
Really?
he's gonna have to get ready to throw down in this race because it's gonna be like Kobe, like no friends in the court or whatever it is. So
Oh,
yes,
brother.
sir.
Oh, brother. Would
Yeah,
you?
I need a new rivalry since Sam decided to dodge me and go for the 100-mile distance, which
Yeah,
is just
that's
crazy this
yeah.
early in the season.
Would you? What would you be more upset about if you played it safe and play it safe, but like played it safe and didn't get the tag, but
Yep.
finished the race and felt strong, or you blew up and had to like DNF?
What did you say I'd be more satisfied with or less satisfied with?
I
Because
guess less satisfied with.
I'd be less satisfied with feeling strong at the end. I
Yeah.
think
Okay.
I don't want to feel strong at the end. I
Yeah.
want to know that like I got every second out of myself on that course. Like
Yeah.
I want to know like I've come into the past what is it now? I guess two ultras feeling stronger than I should have, which is like I don't know if that's a good thing or not because I haven't had the experience. Like I just don't want to come in there thinking like, "Oh, I could have ran
Yeah.
some of those
Yeah.
miles faster." Like I just have why do I have energy to burn still? I shouldn't have energy to burn. Like I literally was out there all day, all night, like burning the fuel. Like why is there still more left? So,
I mean, you had a ton of time training leading up to Black Canyon, so it was very
hmm
structured and rhythmatic. Is there is it like a continuation, or what is the I mean, it's kind of a quick turnaround, all things considered, from Black Canyon to this race. So is there like a plan that you're working off of, or are you trying to just go out and get miles, or what have you and
yep.
Hayden figured out?
Yeah, so I'm honestly not really asking him too many questions. Just kind of rolling with what he's putting down because I feel like I can feel that I'm getting fitter and I'm feeling more confident in my abilities as I run more and the more mileage I put down. Like I feel a lot more efficient at these faster paces. So I know my running economy is getting better. So what we've been doing between Black Canyon and now is it looks like in the few weeks that we've gotten to throw down some actual like decent mileage since then. I had a good recovery week, and then I've been putting some good mileage in now. Last week I was up to like 78, 80 miles. We've been doing like an easy day Monday, um, some sort of like speed work on Tuesday, which this week I think it's gonna be like 5 times 4-minute hills. So I'll be going up at a decent clip and just working on my running efficiency on the hills and my aerobic power there. And then what we're changing up is I know what I've noticed in the plan is that before we weren't doing this, we're doing a Wednesday like midweek long run. So 2 to 2.5 to 3 hours midweek, doing a easy day Thursday, easy day Friday, and then another long run of like similar size on Saturday. So my body's been reacting well to it. I've gotten a lot of trips out to the course, and I feel like that's giving me a lot of confidence, knowing like what kind of splits I'm capable of throwing down on that course, and like what feels comfortable to me on certain climbs, and that's something I'm kind of taking more seriously this year, especially being in Utah and running a lot of local races. That I want to get on these courses and almost just gamify things and know exactly like how hard I can push, what heart rates are feeling good at certain points, and with that, like I think I'll be able to have like the best chance of success possible because I know like what I need to do on these sections. I know what's possible on these sections at certain points. So yeah, training's been going well. We got a big week coming up this week of training. We're gonna do a medium amount of volume the next week, and then we're gonna start tapering for the race and starting to feel fresh for that. So a lot of running. This course has no hiking on it, so it's gonna be another one where I'm gonna be running the entire time, which I think takes a lot more out of you in training than the courses and the training that involves power hiking. So at least from what the training that I've experienced, like Grindstone, I was hiking a little bit more, going a little bit slower, and realizing that like my body was reacting well to that, and it was fatigued, but it wasn't as fatigued as it has been like doing basically marathon training on steroids, but not literally on steroids. So
unless it's Advil.
talking about what is it? What's the NSAIDs? What is that? Non-steroidal. I don't know, whatever it is.
Oh, I wouldn't know, and I think I know what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
is this? You might have said this earlier. Is this a race that you get to sleep in your own bed for, and you drive in the morning?
Yes, that's the nice
that's super
part
nice.
too. Yeah, that's another reason why I'm doing. So I'll just go through my race schedule quick while we are on it. Like I'm doing this one in March. April taking a month off basically from racing, and putting our energy towards Natalie at Boston. She's running this year, so she's running that. Then she has an actuary test the day after in Boston, which is brutal. But then May, running the Tiger Claw 50K, which is an event that Rabbit sponsors. So that will be cool. I can get a comped entry into that one. It's out in Seattle. That one's interesting. We'll talk about it more. And then June, the following month, Twisted Fork 68K from Finn. That's another one I could sleep in my own bed for. 20 minutes up the road. Speed Goat in July, which is another one I could sleep in my bed for. That's like 25 minutes down the road and at Snowbird Resort, ski resort. And then UTMB August. And then if I win this Buffalo Run 50 miler, it would be the Bear in September and nothing on the schedule after that. So yeah, 3 races where I can sleep in my own bed and 2 so far that I can't. So trying to put more emphasis on racing a little bit more locally, spending a little bit less money on that travel because we are going to have to invest a lot. We already have invested a lot in the UTMB weeks that we're going there. So
Yeah,
it's like the big thing right now. So
these races add up. They ain't cheap.
I know, they totally do. Yeah. And yeah, I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but but anyway, on that note, I guess you got Wausau coming up. This is one that you've won before. You've had experience training for. You've done enough backyard ultras where you're almost, I'd say, like on the verge of being a veteran with them now between our own projects and the actual races. So with this one, I guess, what do you want to get out of it? And are you coming in with the same mindset as you did last backyard ultra at Wausau, where you were like, I'm just not gonna quit?
Yeah.
Is that the thing? Because I knew prior to that you were like, oh, I'm going into this wanting to win, and that really didn't get you to the win, but the mindset shift to I'm not gonna quit kind of just kept you plugging along.
Yeah.
I guess the hard part with these backyard ultras is that you can't go as far as you necessarily can without an assist from another runner. So do you expect anyone to be able to run with you in this race to the extent that you're able to?
I think the answer to that, no matter what backyard you go into, is going to ultimately no. Like, if you can go one more, then more than likely, if you can make it one more loop, then you can, without a doubt, make it 2 more loops. So I think that no matter what, you'll never be able to reach I mean, at that point, it's like, what are we trying to? Are we trying to like see if someone can die? Do it like at what point does that come to an end?
Well, I mean, that Lazarus Lake guy would probably want to see that, but
Yeah, true.
yeah.
I think what's really cool about this format race, and there's been studies. I think Laz was the one that put this out there. So anecdotal, but I think they're collecting enough evidence to see that the more people that stay around longer, the longer the race ends up. So if there are 10 people at the 100-mile mark, the statistic likelihood that it will go to 150 miles is much more than if there's 3 people at the 100-mile mark. So I think that is a really cool, not just like statistical data point, but also like a human nature data point that when more people put themselves in uncomfortable positions, we all rise up together. We all can go further together. So I think that's why I connect so much with this race, is because I really like that connection to the sport. It connects and ties closely to what I like about life, how I think philosophically, how we relate to the sport, and all those pieces. I know you and I, when we did it, like that was a big part of our 24 or 25-hour run, was like no loop done alone. The more people we had come out, the better the experience was. So I think what I'm thinking about going into this race is, well, one, I just want to know if I can do it again. I think that is a big factor going into this year. Was last year a fluke, or was it a launch pad to a more like a career focus in the Backyard Ultra? Because I'm humble enough to know that at this point, I am not going to be the guy that's like podiuming at Leadville. I'm not going to be the guy that's like doing the types of things that you're doing, because the type of training that I do right now in its current state isn't built for running a 50 miler or running a 100 miler at a really fast pace, you know? And it's not something
What's that
that,
meme? What's that meme? You're not that guy, pal. I'm just kidding.
yeah, you're not that guy. And frankly, like, I would have to relate to the sport in a way that maybe I just don't enjoy, you know?
Yeah.
And the
The fact that you're that perceptually aware about it, though, I think is important, and that you're not forcing something that doesn't fit who you
Yeah,
are.
right. And even though that's where all the money is, that's where, you know, the potential sponsorships are.
All the
Um,
money as it.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
right.
that.
Yeah, not that there is money. It's
Yeah.
more than zero though. But I think
Yes.
that like where I find my comfort's a weird word to use when we're talking about these situations, but where I settle into, I can like go round for round with darkness, is like I'd rather sit in that discomfort in something that's just like slowly agonizing over long periods of time, like the true
Yeah.
essence of enduring something.
Yeah.
Like,
With
can you
with
just
that,
sit
dude.
in this?
Yeah.
So
With
yeah, go ahead.
that, dude. Um, I want to throw a goal out there for you that I think that you will enjoy. Then, if you're looking to continue with this like suffering in this style, in this format, um, there's the 2026 World Team Championship for Backyard Ultras.
Okay.
That's put on by Lazarus Lake, where I think it's like 50 countries or whatever come out. I'm not sure what it is, but you're almost like they don't all come out at the same race. I don't think, but it's like I'm pretty sure they do it in synchrony. So like you and your team basically go to a Backyard Ultra, and then your total amount of laps contribute to your country.
Yep.
You're not flying to like Indonesia and everyone's
Right,
going
right,
there and
right.
doing it, but like you're doing it at the same time basically as everyone else and then tracking. So there's these silver ticket events that I've briefly mentioned in the past,
Yeah.
but there's two that are happening at the end of this year, and then there's five more, I believe, five more that might be happening in 2026. So if you walked away with a win at one of those 6 or 7 events in the U.S., taking place in the U.S., you would automatically have a spot on
On the team.
on the team that's 15 people deep.
What are
and
the
then
races called?
so the races are
I think you've
Babbitt's Backyard Babbitt's Backyard Ultra in Flagstaff, Summit Backyard Ultra in Marble Falls, Texas, Queenie Backyard Ultra in Eureka, Banana Slug Backyard Ultra in Oregon, Capital Backyard Ultra in Virginia. That's one of the most competitive. Ode de Laz Backyard Ultra in Michigan. That's very competitive too. I know that one. And then Tartarus Backyard Ultra in Washington. So that's where I think you'd be most likely to gain a spot if you wanted to be on the team, because the 9 other spots that are allocated for that 15-man team are at large bids, and that would require you and basically someone else, if you plan it
Do
right,
something absurd.
to go like have like the top one of the top 9 furthest distances at a backyard ultra. So say at this Wausau one, you and another guy go band for band for like 4 days. You guys would probably make the team because you both went that far in distance,
Got
and
it.
there's
Okay.
not gonna be 9 people that did that. So I guess it goes down to like whether or not you think there'll be someone else that'll be able to push you to that at large distance, which I'm not sure what it would be. You kind of just have to figure it out as you go and just see what other people are doing. Or if you won one of these 6 or 7 pretty competitive silver ticket races, then you'd automatically have a spot in the team in 2026,
Got
which
it.
would be
Okay.
sweet. Like that would be
Yeah.
sweet. Like you'd be with like Harvey Lewis and I'm not sure who else was on the team this year that kind of like took it home from him, but yeah, I think
the goal for me then after hearing that is sign up for at least one golden ticket race or silver ticket.
Yeah.
One race where I can compete at, where I can be a part of that.
yes, because that I mean there's gonna be people there no matter what that are gunning for it and that
Right.
are willing to do what you're willing to do.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. For sure.
So I think that'd be sweet. I don't know. I don't want to put my like
No, I
my
appreciate it. I need the
because it's hard. It's
push.
hard in this sport. I guess it's hard in this sport to also know. There's so many different like paths and like ways you can go and different competitions, different like tournament style things you can do, that it's hard to even know where to start and what's going on at certain points.
Yeah.
And with a lot of these races, like there's lotteries too. So if you miss the lottery, you don't have a chance to get into the races. I'm not saying that these ones do, but like a lot of these higher, higher notoriety races, like it's hard to know when things are opening. So yeah, I can send you the link for that, but it's just like the silver events from the bigsbackyardultra.com. Um, there's not one that's really too close to Minnesota, which is tough. But I mean, Michigan, that's drivable.
Yeah. Kind of poking
Missouri,
around
that's
at
drivable.
that Oregon one.
Banana Slug.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be next April. Next April
As
would
in
be.
as in this upcoming April.
Mm-mm.
Next one.
Mm-hmm.
2026.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So there's 2 races that are September, November, and then next February,
God.
next April, next May, next July, next August, and I'd assume that the championship takes place in like October, November of next year. So you have
Okay.
time to like, kind of,
Yep.
establish what you want to do and maybe take a few swings at it.
Yeah.
Like there's plenty of opportunity to take a few swings. So.
Sweet. Okay.
Um,
Well, anyway, on that, like, yeah, I'm, you got me excited, and I'm gonna sign up for at least something after this podcast. But training
Yep.
for that, just, I mean, I'm doing Calendar Club. I did it last month, doing it again this month, doing it again April, leading up to that race, and yeah, I'm just hoping, the training is very similar. I'm gonna incorporate more hill work. Gonna incorporate finishing all of my lifts to the best of my ability, not just showing up and doing what I can that day, and not using the end of the month calendar club to justify not finishing a lift during that week. So some of those aspects are just slight changes that I think will make all the difference. And then mindset is, it went from year 1 was win. I had no support crew. Year 2 was win with support crew. And year 3 was just don't quit with that support crew in mind. So it changed from like an external competitive, I got to beat this person, to if I just don't quit, then I will, by nature of that mindset, I will beat the other competitors. So I'm the type of person that it's hard for me to reuse things. So I'm trying to figure out if that's like, what that looks like for me internally, and that might not show up until race day, but
Hmm. Yeah.
I think slight adjustments more than like massive change.
Yeah. I got something
So,
interesting that I had heard on the single track podcast, that Caleb Olson, he's a Salt Lake City Valley area local. He had just won the Trans Gran Canaria race out in the Canary Islands, of Spain, and he had said that he wasn't letting out too much positivity or enthusiasm to his two competitors that were neck and neck with him throughout the race, because he didn't want to give them any extra energy that would almost allow them to push through some of their
mm,
suffering. So I guess with that being said, there's 2 to 3 different strategies you could take at these backyard ultras that I think are interesting with your competitors. It's like, one, just locking on yourself, never even like look or think about your competitors, which is kind of hard, and kind of just like focus on what you can control. 2, it's like be outwardly positive and enthusiastic and supportive of your competitors, so that they're in a good position, and that in turn you guys can probably push each other as far as you possibly can, just
yeah.
because like you both are getting that reciprocated energy from each other. Or like 3, it's like you you are very, I guess, you're tactical about the things you say and how you're feeling, and like even when you aren't feeling good, like you almost fake it and don't show any like suffering or pain, just so that they like. I remember you had mentioned that this guy, in one, I don't know if it was the first year or a different backyard, I'll share what it was, but he like literally just pulled up with like a chair, and like that was it. Or like what
Yeah.
was the story behind that again? Like this guy like just was like a hardo, like just one of the guys you don't want to be in the ring with for some reason.
Yeah, there was a guy that just he pulled up all he had was a chair, and like it was very like Goggins esque.
Yeah.
Um, but like what was the first one you said?
It's basically just like focus on yourself. Don't even like, like talk to your competition obviously, but like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
don't pay any mind to their
yeah,
race really. It's like you have all the cards in your deck, and like you can play them exactly how you want in these races. You have the control over each lap basically. Like you can control your nutrition, you can control how fast you go. So it's basically like playing your own game.
yeah.
Or like 2, it's basically like you run with these people as much as you can, and like
You're
try
playing little
to,
mind games throughout the race.
well, I would just say like this one is like more so you're not playing the mind games, you're wanting to see how far they can go, and in turn that'll help push you as far as you can go, because they're more likely to go further,
Right. Okay.
which is interesting. And then 3 is like the mind games thing, where like you're just being an absolute menace out there, um, because you can, and it's like free will. Like, yeah. So
Yeah, I lean more on the first one for sure.
yeah, yeah,
For sure. I
yeah.
think. Yeah. I think the third option is that to me is just like if I have to if you I don't know like that takes mental energy,
It does.
you
It
know,
does. Yeah.
like
Yeah. And this is all just like me playing like devil's advocate, and just like figuring out where your mind's at, just for like the
yeah,
viewers to know like how you perceive these races, and like what your mindset is going in, and what has led you to be successful at them. Because I think it's important for people in these races especially to run your very own race and just focus on all the things that you can control. And if it's not in the cards that day and you've controlled what you can control, you've done what you've done, and you can be satisfied knowing that you did exactly what you were supposed to do, and you didn't take any
right.
shortcuts. So nice,
Um,
dude.
well, with that, what you got any sponsorships or partnership updates on your end of
Yeah.
things?
Yeah, so the Rapid Elite Trail team is starting to ramp up a bit more. I guess that's probably like the highest level of ambassadorship you can get. So I guess it's not truly a sponsorship, but it's cool to get that recognition from them and to be a part of that team. And we've got like a cool Slack group that we're supporting each other in each other's races, and a bunch of good opportunities coming out of that. And just in terms of like the connections we're able to make with these people on the team, and some of the things that people are offering. Even like I offered up like the spare bedroom in my house if anyone wanted to come out and like train out here. No matter if I myself or Natalie were working, they could just use this as a base camp for their adventures in the Wasatch and training. Um, People are offering up like a few of the people on the team are like race directors, so they're offering up like spots in their races if we wanted to come join out. Um, so that's getting cool. I think they just sent out their first official like shipment of like gear, like the clothing and stuff for us to wear and to be able to represent them with, which is sweet. Um, I'm gonna be doing the Tiger Claw 50K, which is one they sponsor in May. So it'll be cool to connect with the team there and just you know see them and spend time with them and then race. I think there's like a $500 gift card incentive for getting like top 5 at that race. So that'd be cool just to be able to get some gear and to be able to hopefully bless some people with that. Um, and I guess outside of the rabbit one is 910. So that's the one we've been talking about briefly about like the shoes and prototyping and that matter and how that's coming along. So I've still been in close contact with someone on their team, ASEP. He's someone that's directing many teams, wearing many different hats, and we're in development right now of 2 separate prototype shoes for the trails. Kind of working with a bunch of different partners on it, and they're meeting with a bunch of different like material designers and people that are representatives of these different materials. So squaring things away there to be able to have, I think, one of the first prototypes of one of the shoes in early April to mid-April, which is gonna be sweet. I'm really pumped for. He's been sending me over some like images of some of the work they're doing. I'm sending him over some like feedback and like what I'm exactly looking for in terms of the drop, the materials of the upper, the way that the lace structure is, like if there's a runner's knot or not, how the heel collar is. So that's been cool. Again, bouncing back and forth ideas and them really running away with it quickly and bringing it back to me and like kind of bouncing things off me. It's just cool to kind of be like a quote unquote consultant for them in this project. So really excited for that. Just being patient with it right now. I know there's plenty of work that they have to do and they have timelines they have to wait for with other product brands that are contributing to these prototypes. Not sure if I can name them yet, but I guess we'll see on that one. In terms of employment, I know that was another topic we wanted to talk about briefly here. Still working part-time at the running store as a sales associate. That's been so awesome so far. It's like I feel like I'm this is kind of, I don't know if this is bad to say, but like I feel like a yoga mom, where like I just go to like show up to like any like random time job and just like enjoy my time there. And that's like really kind of what it has been so far. Like in all honesty, like God bless Natalie for being the breadwinner and allowing me this opportunity to make these connections and to gain experience and to build my resume in the running industry. Wouldn't be able to do without her. Truly, she is holding us down right now. So that's been fun being able to like help people out. A lot of people that coming in are getting running shoes, walking shoes for the first time ever, and being able to ignite that stoke in them and to set them up with something that will encourage them to move more is really something that I've been happy to do and something that's given me some purpose in this like weird gray area that I've been operating in lately between trying to become a professional ultra runner, trying to make my way into the running industry, and all my like bosses and managers have been really supportive, and it's been cool to get positive feedback from my coworkers and that they really love to work with me. So that's been sweet. Actually meeting with my boss today about a potential another opportunity that could be on the horizon at the run shop as like another position I could fulfill there, just to keep building my resume, because I've been very forward about what I want to do. I want to build my resume here, and if it ends up not being at the running store in like a bigger capacity to like use what I've learned here to contribute more value to somewhere else. And they've been really supportive of it. They really like that I'm upfront about it and that I'm taking these steps and very proactive in the things I'm doing. So I'm getting good feedback on that as well. So that's been great so far. Anything on your end that is notable between partnerships, sponsorships, employment, like what you're doing right now to make this all work?
Yeah,
Anything you
I
can
mean,
actually speak on?
yeah, to the best of my ability is or to the best that I'm able to talk about it, I am working like part time for the cold brew coffee company that I left back in March of
Mm-hmm.
2024. So there's an opportunity that popped up to help launch a product that I can't talk too much about, but um, really cool to be able to. I think this has really helped me, like, just let things happen when they're supposed to happen. It's not my plan; it's God's plan. Um, when Lucy and I were talking about this is like several months ago, but we were talking about like, okay, when's it time to start really looking to get either a full time job or part time job when marriage was really starting to become a part of the discussion. And
Yep.
that verse that I was reading was really hard to hear, that the man who can't provide for his family is worse than a non believer. And
Mm-hmm.
so we just talked about that, and we talked about what life would look like and how that looks as we come together um, in the sacrament of marriage, and got down and I prayed. And the next day, an opportunity came up where they called me about this thing, and so I'm back working part time. I say all that to say that I'm back working part time. It's going to start to ramp up over the next couple months, and we'll see what that ends up being. So definitely supplementing the 30 cents that I make on a YouTube video with a nice paycheck. And working with Embrace North and Yoakum, and I do a dating show as well. So I'm not completely relying on just YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
If I were, I would be gone. I
Mm-hmm.
would not be
Um,
here. Wouldn't
Dude,
be
I
able
feel
to
like we have
eat.
to plug that a bit more. Like you've been working hard on these videos the past few years, and like it's quality content. It's like not any fluff. It's not just like mile three, woo, like that type of
Yeah.
thing. Like you're talking about things that matter, and really, I think getting to the core of like why you are doing what you're doing, and I think it's really positively affecting people. So if people are interested, dude, it's just Mark Dowdle on YouTube. Tune in to what Mark's putting out. It's really
Yeah.
awesome to see, and
Don't forget,
um,
yeah, it's Mark dot Dowdle. Don't forget
yep.
that dot in between the Mark and the Dowdle. But yeah, no,
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that. I think I have been uh, caught up in comparing myself to the people that do play the viral game, and just my hope with my YouTube channel specifically is that I can share the suffering that running has like been able to show me, that like the goodness and the fruits of that,
Mm-hmm.
and how um, it is really just a reflection of who I am as a man and as a person. And I think through running, through something physical like running, that when you put yourself in those situations, you learn about who you are, not because of what you believe about yourself, not because of what you say about what yourself, but who you actually are when you're confronted with the hard truths of life. And
Mm-hmm.
if that's something that people are interested in, that's something I talk a lot about on my YouTube channel. And then, interesting enough, I did get sent an email from a, let's see, I want to get the wording of this person right. Um, like it's a social media specialist on behalf of a shoe brand that wanted me to do some UCG content, um,
Mm.
and cover photos and stuff like that for a price. And I've been going back and forth with a friend of mine who's helping me to land sponsors. He wants to be a sports agent, and so he and I are kind of working together in tangent as I'm looking to get brands and he's looking to step into this field. He and I are kind of working together. Um, but you know, I've I've always sort of been against doing content and paid content. Um,
Uh-oh. Here.
but and I talk about this openly right now because I don't know what I'm gonna do,
Mm-hmm.
and it's happening in real time right now. And it would be content that they would use on their promotions. So like they would send me shoes, I'd make a reel and then I'd send it to them and they would use it as like promotional content in their advertisements. Um, and I know when I had talked to Don, who is a sponsored athlete by Speedland, he's the one that his what do you call it? His sponsored shoe is the road shoe.
Yep. That one's sweet
Um,
too. I tried
it
that on a TRE.
Yeah, and
It's
that's
awesome.
one thing he told me that if I wasn't doing, I should start doing that is like just finding brands that would pay me to create UGC content.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, it's not like I'd be posting it on my socials. I don't know if that's a breach of my own morals and ethics, but eventually, like, I would like to start working with brands. And if this is a way to start doing those things, I don't know. What ultimately it's going to be my decision. But what are your thoughts on the UGC and getting paid to provide content to brands?
I mean, for the viewers that don't know what UGC means, it's user generated content, and in a lot of cases, it's supposed to come off as as uh, more authentic content than what's being put out by some of the brands. I'd say like you have some control of what you're able to put out, the opinions you're able to have. Um, I think I personally would be open to it as well, um, but with that caveat, I would need time to thoroughly test the product and to vet it myself before I would be able to recommend it or push it to um, the audience that follows me and that sees my page, because I think it's important to not sway too far from, you know, oh, maybe there's like a check that's bigger than the other end of it, and maybe I can just like
Right.
force myself to
To
believe that this
like this.
product is
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
to like it. So I think as long as it's like genuine and authentic, and like you kind of lay out your use cases of it and how you think it could be helpful to someone, and not like say like you need this product, because no one truly needs a lot of these products that are put
Right.
out. Like that's just marketing, like making people think that they need something. Just basically just like putting out there, oh yeah, like this is something that I use, like you've been doing with Creatures of Habit. Like this is something that I do like just in the mornings. It helps me get my day off to a good start. Like something that's simple, easy, and something I don't have to really think about. Like that's kind of what people want in the first place. They want something that makes their quality of life better. And I think with a lot of these user generated content things, it's like a lot of this stuff is totally unnecessary, and it it's a bad reflection on the influencer. I think the Advil thing that we
Yeah.
kind of briefly
Yeah.
brushed on was one
Yeah.
of those where it's like people are almost not knowing what they're getting themselves into before making these posts. So with all that being said, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's cool. But I
Hmm.
would make sure that if you're gonna do it, to come from a place of authenticity by doing the due diligence of using the product a lot before
Yeah.
you do it,
Yeah.
because you don't want
Because
something
if
to
I
pop up
don't
like,
like it, I'm not gonna.
well,
That's something I'd have to know. Like, if they
that
send me this
and
and I don't like it, like, I
yeah,
can't provide content around it.
that and you have to be very like in my opinion, I think that I have to go here pretty soon. I got a meeting. But I think it's important to note to your audience, in my opinion, I think this would be almost like a deal breaker for me if it wasn't allowed. But if the brand allows you to talk more about the level of partnership and and the length of like the contract and like what that looks like, because if you push some product and then like the next month you're not using it and it's not something that you're like people are seeing on you or seeing that you're using, then it's like they'll start to have some distrust with the things that you start posting in the future about certain other products. So being upfront about what the partnership is about, the use case about it, the length of, when you intend to use this for. And I think for me, if I heard that from an influencer or someone that's online talking about a product, I'd way more likely to not only look into the product more, but to probably like support it and to purchase it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a hard thing to do because you want to satisfy the brand and you want to fulfill your end of the bargain. But if there's not going to be the engagement from the user, there's no point really in doing it for yourself other than for the brand to get views and clicks.
Right.
And
Right.
like,
Sell
there's
shit.
no like, yeah, exactly. If there's no like actual value you're providing, it's kind of tough to
Yeah.
do it. So.
All right.